Welcome, fellow seekers of challenge and triumph, to the SufferSooner podcast. Join us on a journey where ordinary souls embark on extraordinary endeavors. From the relentless grind of gravel to the punishing gauntlet that is triathlon, we've tasted our fair share of suffering. So fellow endurance warriors, let's lace up our shoes, strap on our goggles, and dive headfirst into the challenge, knowing that with every step, stroke, and pedal forward, we grow stronger together. All right, guys, welcome to episode 47. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So it's we are officially in that lull of the season between Christmas and New Year's, right?
Yeah.
It's like the worst week ever, it seems like. So
yeah, they have that like Rafa 500 where you got to do 500 miles of something to finish out the year.
Yeah. Not to jump ahead, I'm like 1,000 miles short of my goal for cycling this year. So
looks like your week's gonna be busy.
Right? Be like the dude in Colorado ride 1,000 miles this week. It's like just another week. So I've seen a few people that are doing these ridiculous Strava efforts, like 24 hours of riding and that kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't know. Sure.
Yeah. Sure, man.
Sure.
I guess.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You do you, right?
So. Yeah. I'm not gonna yuck on your yum.
Right. I'm just trying to figure out, like, how do you do like I've seen this before where people try to do 24 hours of indoor riding and it gets, how painful is that? I can't.
Well, they do the 24-hour indoor ride and then you never see them again for like 3 months.
Right.
It's like, why don't you just do an hour for 24 days or something like that? That would have been
an idea.
A lot better.
Yeah. Oh well. So yeah, but yeah, so New Year's is on us, and if you haven't already planned out what you want to do next year, you got a couple of days left or a couple hours left, depending on when you listen to this. Yeah. So how about you? Did you set goals, right, for this year? You set goals for this year. How did you do on any of your goals? So I know we're going to jump in ahead here, but I mentioned I'm 1,000 miles short on my cycling goal. There's no way I'm hitting it, so I'm feeling a little bummed about that. So.
I haven't really looked at any of that stuff. I know I was, before the episode, I was looking for, usually I write this stuff down and then I just put it in the book and then never look at it again.
Right.
But usually I break stuff down as like, I have one major overarching goal, for the family. I have one for me and my wife, and then I have one personal growth that's outside of Ironman, cycling, all that training. And then I, of course, have my training goals and stuff. Yeah. And I think training wise, I'm probably about the same way with you, is that I wanted to ride about the same kind of mileage, I think, when we discussed it last time. So I'm probably about 1,000 miles short.
Yeah.
And then running was, I think I wanted to get to like 500 miles or something like that. So
yeah,
I might be close, but not that close. And then swimming, I think I wanted to do like, 60,000 yards. So I think that one's probably
in the ballpark.
Yeah. I think everything's kind of in the ballpark, but just I didn't like make it. So
it's weird. I saw. I set running goals and swimming goals for this year, and swimming, just like I threw it out the window early on.
You're just like, screw swimming.
Screw that. I'm done. Yeah.
Never have to do an Ironman again. I'm done.
Right. I mean, I still have the desire to be a better swimmer and all that kind of stuff. I think part of it is it's like it's not high on the priority list for me, so it's the first thing that gets jettisoned, and it's the hardest thing to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go do if it's not part of a goal. Like a year and a half ago, is like I had to learn how to swim if I wanted to meet the goal, so it was a number one priority. Running is a similar situation. I had lofty running goals. I've never really been a consistent year-round runner. I've been consistent when I need to be. And so my running goal for this year fell apart probably in spring of last year when cycling picked up. So I pretty much kicked it to the side too. Again, ran, just occasionally, but not like consistent training. So Yeah, I don't know. I think it's and then the cycling, like I said, I fell short of my cycling goal this year, but a lot of that's because we rode. I honestly, we rode so much gravel for so long through the year, the miles just don't tick up. You know, they don't add up quite as fast.
Yeah, the
The
time on the
time is
bike
there.
is
Yeah,
time's there,
yeah,
and but just the mileage is just not
right.
because
I still rode more miles than I did a year ago, so I mean, I'm pretty happy
yep.
with that. So anyway, yeah, so just kind of jumped right into it, but you know, I think that's why end of the year is always so fun. You kind of look back, reflect a little bit, and then you know what, just in just a few short days, we get a whole new calendar year and a chance to do it all over again, right?
Yep. New year, new you, man.
You got it.
That's what, you just get out there and it's just like you're a whole different person now.
I mean, that's what everybody shows up at the gym thinking, right? Like you
Yep.
show up at the gym, you get your $10 a month membership, and you know, you just I still love the videos of people like totally misusing workout equipment. They have
Yeah,
no
it's like
idea.
what is the
Yeah.
drop off date? I think they'd
Yeah.
like say like, to check in on your New Year's resolutions at like February 10th or something is
Yeah.
usually the time that everybody kind of drops off. So I
Mhm.
I'm I've done this. I usually make goals for the year and stuff, and like you said, like me and you, we've made goals for this channel. We made that back in what, October. So
Mhm.
we'll be implementing that stuff. I made race goals for the races that are coming up. I did that back in September. So it's like it's not that I have to wait for New Year's to make goals.
Right.
I don't have to reinvent myself. I just have to double down on committing to what I was doing. So I don't really like the whole new year new you. I just kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm really a person of like just pick one thing that you don't like about
Mhm.
yourself and start fixing that, and pick the thing that you like about yourself and double down on that,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I'm a lot the same way. I don't I think there's something refreshing about, you know, the clean slate that a new year brings. So for me, it's not about trying to your point, not trying to reinvent. I'm not trying to um, go back to zero, if you will, on anything. I think what's nice though is like, you know, am I happy about the fact that I dropped off my swim and my run this year? Am I happy that I missed my bike goal for the year? No, not at all. But there is something refreshing about flipping the calendar over. It's 1/1, it's gonna be 1/1/25, and you get a chance to sort of redeem, and
Yep.
and that's kind of the way I'm gonna look at it is, "Hey, you know what? I've got event goals for next year." You know, we spent a lot of time thinking about what the schedule was gonna look like for 2025 and being very thoughtful about the types of events that we were gonna do, and, you know, there were some tough decisions in there. I mean, I personally wanted to go out and do Unbound XL, and we decided to, you know, hey, maybe that's actually a 2026 goal, and here's why. And we lined out some really good reasons for why. And it's all about supporting a bigger objective for that race, and no, and trying to be realistic about how to get there. So when I think about the goals, like I don't, yeah, I'm not looking for, you know, a calendar year to help me reframe everything. For me, it's a reminder for one, hey, it's time to get real because guess what? In 3.5 months, we're going to be right in the thick of our gravel race season, spring gravel race season,
Yeah.
and then right around the corner from that is Unbound, and then you've got all kinds of fun. We got some really cool things going on. I think this next summer we got some good things cooking. So yeah, it's to me, it's just a chance to sort of refocus and get time to get really serious about where things are at for next year. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, like like I was saying is I make a personal goal for me. Last year it was to continue to learn another language. So I've been doing that this year. So I'll probably get to a base level of fluency is what my plan will be for that this year.
yeah,
Being able to actually converse at a basic level, and maybe read and at a somewhat basic level.
I'm I'm anxious for you to come on here and do an episode in in your newly found second language. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
It's
It'll
gonna be
be
a very
my well, if you count music, it'll be like what, 4 languages.
oh, there you
So
go. Yeah,
English, Spanish, music, and then Japanese.
there
So
you go.
yeah, so I'm okay at Spanish. You know, coming from New Mexico and stuff,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, pick
basically
it up.
you have to learn it.
Mhm.
It's basically the main language of New Mexico, and like English is the second language there for sure.
Sure.
So here, it's I don't get to use it as much because we're in Missouri.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then like I say, I like to make a goal with me and my wife and stuff. Last year it was 1 day a week we would I would set aside time to just be present with her and stuff. And
Yeah.
then I think this year it'll be like implementing a date night one time a month or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. You're
getting
making
away
me
from
look
the
really bad here, by the way. I
getting
appreciate
away
that.
from the
Yeah.
kids and stuff. I mean, it's hard, right? Like,
It
I
is.
mean, when we're training so much, like it's we have a lot of time to spend alone, but we don't, you know,
Yeah.
it's not like our spouses are next to us, going, "Hey, so what are you thinking about?" And you're just
Right.
like,
Right. Right. No, but I think
so
you bring up some really good ideas there. And it's because it's easy to sort of let the training calendar, get absorbed in that, and then next thing you know, a few weeks have gone by, a few months have gone by, and you got you haven't gone out on that date night, or you haven't gone to a nice dinner or anything like that. And I'm guilty of that too. So yeah, I think those are really good things to try to help sort of ground everything back into what's really important. And
yeah,
I think it also forces you to sort of, um, have urgency with the training time you do have, and then have urgency with the family time you have. And
yeah. I feel like if you don't prioritize other things, then you're just like, well, if I have all day to train, then I'll just wait to the last minute.
yeah,
you know
that
Whereas
happens. Yeah,
if you're like, well, I have to train because I have this other stuff I'm going to do, then yeah, I have to, it becomes more of a necessity, and you're just
yeah.
like, okay, kind of all of them kind of help feed into each other, so it's good.
What about new habits? Do you use one like January 1st to try to so for a good example, that'd be, I'm not really much of a wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go work out, but like maybe that's something I want to try now. Maybe 4 o'clock's a little too
I
early.
think it's a good thing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I kind of look at good habits and stuff like that as stuff that I implement throughout the year, right?
Right.
Like, so like like hitting your macro for protein and stuff like that. Are you gonna go and hit 100 grams of protein,
Yeah.
1 or should you maybe like start today, and maybe you hit your goal is to hit 70 today, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
next week an average of 70 every day, and then you kind of up it, because I feel like a lot of these goals, like you'll fall off if they're too extreme,
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
you
you bite
just
off
kind
more
of
than you can chew on it, right? Yeah.
yeah, you next thing you know, you're like, all I eat is steak and eggs, and it's horrible. Like my life is just miserable hell. And it's just like, well, it wouldn't have been miserable if you would have just kind of worked your way up to it and then kind of
Yeah.
gone there. So I do take the New Year's as kind of like, as a time to just reflect and just be like, okay, this is some of the stuff I'm doing that I'm not happy about that I
Yeah.
do, and then this is some stuff that I want to improve upon and make it
Mhm.
better. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
for sure. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, it's why a lot of diets fail.
yep.
It's like you try to make overnight changes, and that's not how change happens. I mean, if
Yeah, I always tell my athletes, if you want to clean up your diet, just start with breakfast, right?
yeah, yeah,
Start with breakfast, make that run that for about a week, maybe 2 weeks of just
mhm,
constantly hitting a good breakfast.
yeah,
Screw everything else in the day. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're like, all right, I'm going to do breakfast and like maybe a snack that's healthy.
mhm,
And then you just kind of keep adding that. And then over the period of, you know, like 3 months or so, you've totally revamped, 4 or 5 meals, if
Yep.
you're somebody who eats 4 or 5 meals, or if you're someone like me who just eats like 3 kind of decent sized meals a day,
Yeah.
You've revamped your meal plan to something more positive.
Right.
So
Yeah, it makes it more sustainable.
Yep.
So good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, do you have do you have any New Year's traditions that you do? Do you have anything that you do before New Year's to like set you up? Like my mom, she always used to make us eat black-eyed peas or yeah, or olives or something. Yeah,
Olives are
black
good.
olives. You got to do the black olives before New Year's or something. You got to eat that.
Yeah.
You got to eat that at like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm just
Mm.
like, no thanks on that.
Yeah. No. It's I'm not much into all that kind of voodoo magic.
I
No.
do. So I always say it's gonna be a good year if all your laundry's done before the new year.
Oh,
You're starting
nice.
the new year out on a high note. So I finish
Everything's
all the
clean.
laundry in the house. Like there's
Nice.
no laundry, there's no
Nice.
dirty laundry. It's all clean. It's all been washed. So I'm starting it this week of getting through all the making sure the kids gather up all their stuff.
Yeah.
So you start out the new year with everything's clean at least.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
the
but see,
sheets are washed, the blankets are washed.
But then it
everything.
just goes downhill from there. It's like only gets dirty from there. So at least if it's like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll clean everything on January 1st, so that way I've accomplished something for the year. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, we don't have any big traditions like that. I mean, although I can appreciate that. That's good. But yeah, I would much rather be able to say, hey, at the end of the first day of the year, I accomplished this. Not hey, I managed to dirty up, another load of laundry and now I can do laundry. Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah. No. We I mean, not really a tradition, but I mean, we always now our kids are older, so we don't really have like any kind of real get together. I mean, part of it is with the line of work I'm in. There's been a lot of years where I've had to work around January 1st. So it's for better or worse, has kind of just turned into another day, if you will.
Yep.
But we always try to have, wife and I now at least 2 of our kids are still around the house. If they're here, we'll stay up till midnight and have our sparkling grape juice or something like that. Nothing crazy. We keep it pretty quiet. Now, in my younger years, probably went out and had a good time. But
yeah,
nothing.
Now I'm like, I think of that January 1st, like, okay, I got to get some workouts in to start the year off.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I got to outpace my Strava workouts from the year before. I don't want my year in review of Strava to embarrass me again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're pretty much that type of, hey, it's just another day. But I do think there's something. I kind of go back to it again. I think there's something about when you flip the calendar over, there's a new start feeling. I mean, there's no question about that. Yeah, good stuff. So that probably answers the next one. So what is this one, Travis?
New Year's resolutions. Do you smash or pass?
It's a hard pass here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pass
so like I said, I do make resolutions of stuff. So last year it was bake more, make stuff at home, like baking, because that's like one skill set that I'm not really good at, cooking. So I started doing sourdough, and so now the family, likes the bread that I make more than the store-bought bread.
Yeah, that's
so
a good feeling there.
take some control over, kind of the stuff that we're making and eating, and do that. So that was a big smash for me, for sure. It's just being better at controlling what we're actually eating for the family wise. So
yeah, I think, and that's the thing. I see. That's why I don't really think of these things as resolution. I'm sure they are on some level. They're resolutions, but like I'm just not the type that I gotta wait till 1/1 to do these things. I think of it as so a good example. We cut Splenda out of our morning routine for coffee, and not for any particular reason other than it's completely artificial, right? So it's just
Right,
totally
exactly, yeah.
man-made. I get it might originate from something natural, but it's completely artificial. And I'm just like, it actually dawned on me. We were buying the big boxes from like Costco or Sam's Club, the big box, like 1,200 packets of Splenda, and
Yeah.
it'd take us a little while to go through those. But I'm like, oh my gosh, like how
That's
much?
a lot,
That's
yeah.
a lot, like and it's like even if you go through 2 of those a year, that's still a ton of freaking like what that you're putting into your body. And I don't know if it has long-term effects on your health or not. I have no idea, but it's not natural, so it's probably not the best thing you could be doing. And it's just one of those like small changes I made throughout the year. Like, do I enjoy the flavor of my organic cane sugar that I put in coffee now as much? Not as much. I like that little. I mean, I'm kind of a sweet tooth. I like the little sweeter, but like we made changes like that just in the last few months, and I think a lot of it's about um yeah, cooking at home more, those types of things. Like we have a bad habit of the convenience of going out to eat. So not only is it super expensive, but it's also just generally the food just not as doesn't taste as good, and then it's also just not as healthy for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know it as much as I do. Like, we go out to, let's say we go out to Five Guys and have
Yeah.
burgers. It's like I could
Mhm.
have made burgers, fries, and had money left over
Right.
if I was the one that was cooking it.
That's right.
And the burgers would have been better because I can control the beef. I can
Exactly.
control whatever we put on it, what type of cheese, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We don't deep fry the potatoes, all
Right.
that stuff. We just air fry them and
Mhm.
all that stuff. So like, just stuff like that where you're just like, I can save, with my family, it's almost $80 to
Yeah.
go to
Oh, yeah.
someplace like Five Guys.
It's out of
Whereas like,
control.
yeah, if I was to, buy $80 worth of hamburger stuff, we would have hamburgers for 3 days,
Right.
not one meal, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
You buy 20 pounds of beef from, ground beef from Costco, it's only
Right.
$30,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just it. It's like so I just am a big fan of making those smaller changes along the way
Yep.
and trying to make those stick. And then, because if we woke up and said, hey, you know what, on January 1st, we're gonna stop sweetening our coffee with artificial sweeteners, and we're gonna start eating at home. Where it starts today, I'm gonna start eating
Starts
at home
today. Right now, it
right
starts today.
now.
And you
That's right.
make all these changes, dude. You're gonna have a revolt on your hands.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's mutiny in the house.
Yeah.
What are you doing? So yeah, it's that's why I think again I really appreciate January 1st gives you that fresh start feeling, but I don't let all the eggs in that basket try to drive it. Just can't. So yeah, I think and a lot of that's because for me personally, I've got goals next year. I need to cut pounds so that my power to weight ratio can be higher, and then also just so I feel better. And like I remember how good I felt after Ironman training and after doing Ironman, and like I was the lightest I had been um since close to college, and
Yeah.
I was within 10 pounds of my college weight, and that felt pretty good. And then it was within 3 months of Ironman, I was back up to 10 pounds more than I was. It's like,
Yeah.
that was a pivotal moment. If I could have dropped 10 more pounds versus gaining 10 pounds back, I would have been, man, I'd been probably might have been fast enough to beat you on the bike this year. So yeah. So anyway, I just like a lot of those little changes to try to make throughout the year. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm sure after January 1st gets here, I'm sure there'll be a couple of things like usually within that first week of the year. I'm like, oh, what if we try this and what if we try that? And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like everybody else's resolutions like start to surface. I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. We should try that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm a post New Year resolution person. Like,
Yeah, I like to hear
Yeah.
everybody else's
Yeah,
plan
yeah.
and then pick and choose what I'm going to do. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
this year will be along the same lines of just continuing to cut out, the quick and easy food and just continue to plan meals better and then eventually introduce, just slowly change the whole family over to my diet without them
Right.
knowing it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Next thing you know,
unless
everybody's eating
they
chicken and
listen
rice.
to this, yeah, think they're gonna be
Yeah,
like,
we having
I
chicken
know
and
what you're
rice.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. One conversion I did, I've so we have an espresso machine, and
Mm-hmm.
It didn't get used enough. Like it would get used in spurts. And so, so I got it all cleaned up one day, and it's like back into prime working order. And I love this machine. I just, just kind of gets pushed to the side from time to time. And my son, our middle son was home one day, and he's like, he was gonna leave to go to Starbucks to get a caramel latte.
Yeah.
So you wait a minute. So you're gonna drive. You're gonna leave. You're gonna drive and spend gas money to go to Starbucks to get a $6, $7 caramel latte to drive back home to drink it.
Yep.
Yeah, like I can just make one. I've got the stuff here right now. I can just
Yeah, we can just make it right now.
make it right now. And
Yeah.
so what was going to be a $10 ordeal turned into, now he loves us. He's addicted to those things. Like now, anytime he comes over, he's like, can you make one of those caramel lattes for me? Yes. So that's what,
Yeah.
we did Christmas morning. He came over for Christmas morning breakfast and everything. And I made up a caramel latte, and it's good stuff. I mean, and they are good. I mean, I don't drink them because I'm not really a big caramel latte guy, but they're good, and they're a hell of a lot better than anything you get at Starbucks.
Well, at Starbucks, I can't drink a shot of espresso without doctoring it up there because the coffee that they use is just not as good.
Yeah.
And then so I'm the same way. I cleaned up my espresso machine. I bought a new basket. I got the wife gave me a hand grinder so I can grind the beans the way that they're supposed to be ground. And so now I've been drinking espressos, and I don't have to doctor it up. I can just drink the shot regular because I like the taste of coffee, like good coffee. I like the taste of, but you go to QT or Casey's, and you can't just drink black coffee from there. It's just like it's just not you're like, what is this garbage? So yeah, I've been using my espresso machine too. Like I've just been getting back into that, and I just find it.
Yeah, nice. There go 3 more followers that think coffee at Casey's is the best in the world. So
yeah, there's
that. Yeah,
I mean, I'll drink it. Don't worry, I'll drink it, but I have to add cream, sugar, and all that other stuff. Whereas when I'm at home, I can drink a cup of coffee with just black. I mean, that's how I used to drink it all the time. And then then my wife is a big. She likes that creamer, so there's always some kind of creamer in the house, and so I'm like, I'll just have some creamer. That's good.
Yeah.
So that'll probably be my next thing, is cutting out the creamer from the coffee and just keep going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. See, I heard one of my other sons say this the other day about he uses the Splenda. Because he was probably serious, but he made that comment. He's like, "Oh, I use Splenda because I don't want to use sugar and I don't want to get fat, And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but the amount of sugar you use in coffee. I mean, unless you're just getting the measuring spoons out and loading up your coffee with sugar.
If you go to Dunkin' or Starbucks and you buy a drink from there, there's a lot of sugar in there. There's almost as much sugar as a candy bar. So
exactly.
When you're making it at home, you're like, I would never make it this sweet, but you're drinking it because I spent $6 on it. Exactly. I have to drink it now.
Yeah, and I use a teaspoon of sugar per cup of coffee now, and I'm like, it's what, 2 to 3 grams of sugar? That's nothing.
Yeah, that's nothing.
And I think that's where the people get a little side note, off track here. But those are the types of things when I think about New Year's resolutions, I'm like, I think it's a good time to think about this stuff. And then it's like, well, I'm not so much going to call it a resolution, because to me, resolutions are kind of meant to be broken. It's like they're going to get broken. It's like, and so
it's like me saying I'm going to give up pizza, and then
it's just not going to happen.
January 2nd, I'm like, we should have pizza tonight. That's
that's right.
That's what happens. It's like, I know myself too well to just be like, I cannot give up pizza. I'd rather cycle 24 hours on the trainer than give up pizza.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's just not going to happen.
Right. So.
But knowing yourself and just going, hey, if I don't get a coffee drink from Starbucks and I make it at home, one, you're learning how to make it.
Yeah.
and two, you have more control over what goes into it. So it's
Yeah.
just like same thing if you're like, like if I bought like one of those wood fire oven things and I was just like, well, instead of buying pizza from Costco, now I'll just, or, wherever, Pizza Hut,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make my own pizza. Well, now I have, so much more control over what goes on the pizza and how much
Mhm.
cheese to use and, all the sauce and stuff. Then, that's huge. So
Right.
that might be something I look into,
Yeah.
but you're taking what you're doing already and you're just like, well, how can I clean it up so that it somehow becomes better
Exactly.
for me, even though like yourself, you're like, I'm not going to give up. Like if you're, I know some athletes that are just like, I'm never giving up my Starbucks drinks, my Starbies. And it's just like, well, you don't have to give it up. You could just make it yourself and then go from there.
We used to say the same thing. We used to have a bad Starbucks habit, um, like daily going and getting coffees and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like it's like you got. I don't want to say you get addicted to it. I mean, it probably is an addiction, but like it was good, And then now like
Yeah.
we can't even really stand to drink their coffee at all. Like just
Yep.
don't even like none of it. Occasionally, my wife will get a whatever their seasonal drink is, but that's like rare now. And
Yeah.
so anyway, so yeah, yeah, I think so. You definitely had some resolutions. I take a different approach, so I pass on them. But there, so did you have resolutions then this year that stuck for you? And then I've got maybe a couple of things implemented throughout the year, but I wouldn't call them resolutions. But yeah, what did you have? You mentioned the
So
sourdough, so
yeah,
sourdough.
so I did the sourdough and I think I gave you some
Yeah, you gave
sourdough
me some,
starter.
and
Yeah.
it's been freaking flourishing. Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
great.
So yeah, I do that. At first it seemed very daunting. It was like, oh my
Oh
God, I
yeah.
got to do this. Now it's like I will prep the sourdough, whatever bread I'm going to make or
Mhm.
focaccia or whatever I'm making. I'll start making it when I'm making dinner at night,
Mhm.
for the family. And for the next day, then I just, I wake up in the morning, I have my coffee and I turn on the oven and I bake the bread. And then now there's bread in the house for
Right.
the next day. But yeah, we make, I make sourdough everything now. So it's just like the kids love it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
love, the recipes. I mean, I made artisan bread and
Yeah.
that's the one that's like super involved in it. I have to be kneading the dough for 2 hours and stuff like that, but it lasts like for like a day. It's
Yeah. It's
gone. I
gone.
made it
Yeah.
yesterday and it's gone.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gone already. And it's
Yep.
just like, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I could go to the store and buy sourdough
Sure.
bread from there, but it's like you look at it and then like they have preservatives and all that other
Mhm.
stuff in there. And again, I'm not a expert on all of that stuff, but like I know what goes into my sourdough. It's
Yeah.
sourdough, water,
Yeah.
flour, and
Maybe a
and
little
some
bit of oil or
energy,
something. Yeah.
and some
Yeah.
energy,
Yeah.
and
Depending
some
on what you're
salt.
making. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, and that's the thing, like, when so, yeah, you gave me the starter, and I was like, "Let me give that a shot. I'll give it a try," and gosh, I can remember how long ago that was now, and, yeah, the focaccia that can make off of that, and it's so easy, like you said, I mean, it's really just about the preparation, and just having a routine down, but
Yep.
it is so easy to make. I actually so I did I saw somebody did, they used the discard to make like a pizza crust, like a thin pizza
Yeah.
crust.
Yeah.
And so I did that when I like one day I had like nothing in the house to eat. I was busy with work. I'm like, I gotta fix something quick. And I was like, I haven't fed the sourdough in a while. I got this is like what goes on my brain, like when I got the 5 minutes in between meetings to go eat. And I'm like, oh, my sourdough needs to be fed. I'm like, well, a starter needs to be fed. So I took some of the discard and I got a pan nice and hot and I made a like a thin crust with the starter,
Yeah.
and I had a jar of pizza sauce that dumped some pizza sauce on there, threw some mozzarella and some chicken on there, and had a little chicken pizza.
Yeah.
It's freaking phenomenal. I mean, it wasn't like it's not gonna win, best pizza dough award or anything like that, but it was pretty dang good. You know what? Like any pizza crust you buy, think about all the garbage that's in it and how miserable you feel after you eat it. And then it's like I ate that, I felt great. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like a little bit of, like, and I took it super light on the cheese, but yeah, all the chicken, protein, all that stuff. Oh my gosh, it was so good. So
Yeah.
now it's a go-to. It's a quick and easy meal. So
Yep.
that's good
Yeah,
stuff.
it just takes a little bit of time to get,
Mhm.
kind of settled into the new routine. And then
Yeah,
once, like I said, I just now the kids they really don't like the store-bought bread anymore. They're like,
right.
it tastes different.
Yeah,
They can taste the difference between it, and they're like, we really like the sourdough, bread loaves that you make.
yeah.
And then they're a big fan of breakfast for dinner, and we just
Mhm.
do sourdough pancakes. And
Yeah,
again, you don't have to do the pancake batter that you get from the store. You just
right.
add some flour and all that other stuff and a couple eggs, and boom, man, that stuff is done. So like, yeah,
Yep.
making little changes like that where you're just like, I'm not out to change my family's habits of,
Yeah.
and making them become monks of, they eat 4 grains of rice and, like they only consume water. But like, if I can control, that kind of stuff that they're eating going into what they're eating for dinner, then,
Yeah.
that's a huge deal for me. So, yeah. So
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
I usually like I say, when I make New Year's resolutions, I usually try to make them so that they do stick. So I set myself
Yeah.
up for, for success instead of failure.
Mhm.
I try not to. I've done this enough times to know that like changing my whole lifestyle is not conducive to any kind of thing. Like I've
Yeah.
done the keto diet before, and
Sure.
I've done, stuff like that where it's like now I have to make 2 different dinners, and it's just that
Not
tends to
not
fall apart.
sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like just know yourself and just make the changes that you can, and then you'll get better at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, and I basically like, and the way I did with learning a new language was instead of scrolling Instagram or TikTok or whatever in the morning, like with my coffee, that's
Mhm.
when I do my language learning. So I
Yeah.
drink my coffee, I do some language learning stuff, and then if I want to watch something while I'm eating breakfast, it's anime,
Yeah. I was gonna
Japanese
say,
Japanese anime, and I
I
just
know
watch that.
there's a lot of applications now, I think you probably use Duolingo or you've probably
Hmm.
seen it a couple times, and I was looking into, there's Babbel and all these others. I was looking into some of the different language, training programs out there, and it just seems like everything comes back to you wanna really learn a language, just immerse yourself in it. Like,
Yep.
you'll learn it. That's what you do that's what kids do. That's how kids
Yep.
learn it. They just get immersed in it.
Yeah. So
So,
now, like my Netflix account, my Hulu account, all of them are all in Japanese. So I have to navigate the menus in Japanese. I have to do all of that stuff in Japanese if
yeah,
I want to watch. If I want to watch a show
yeah,
on my own time, it has to be. If it's an English show, it'll have Japanese subtitles.
yeah.
If it's Japanese anime or something like that, where it's native in Japanese, it will
Mhm.
have the English subtitles. But like
But you can follow along, yeah.
yeah, I can follow along. So it's
Yeah,
it's it's there.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so if I'm watching something on my own time, it's in Japanese. It's
yeah,
not in English unless
yeah.
it's an English show. Like
That's awesome.
Seinfeld is pretty funny still, and you know,
In Japanese.
yeah, in Japanese.
That's too good.
So
So, good stuff, man. So,
yeah,
yeah,
it's great.
I and, I know it's funny because the things that have stuck, at least for you and probably for me as well, but I think the things that have stuck are more, not training related. Is that something?
Yeah,
But
the training is just kind of like I tell my athletes, and you've heard me say this a million times, is just training is what I do so I can do everything else in the day, so I
mm,
can function.
yeah,
It's kind of like my medicine. It's like I have to
yeah,
do something physical in order to function the rest of the day. Like it
right,
makes me a better person, so
right.
that's why I do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think, and maybe that's why I have a hard time thinking about the whole resolutions thing, at least in the context of training and like what we're doing here and all this, because to me, the training, the training is just the method to get where you want to go. It's like it's what you have to do to get where you want to. So like if I want to do these events or I want to have certain accomplishments, like I pick a large goal, and this is why again I don't get stuck on the calendar year thing because a lot of the goals like we talk about are multi-year goals. You know, it's like, so then I just break it down from there. Like, okay, so to get that, this is what I have to do. And we've done some episodes on goal setting. So, you know, it's really that process over and over and over. I just love using this time of year as just that sort of reality check. Like, hey, am I really on track? And if I'm not, then this is a really good opportunity to say, okay, wipe the slate clean, start, like, get yourself back on track, and then go get, go get whatever it is you're going after. But use this as the opportunity to really, have to be realistic about your progress and where you're at. So
Yeah. I mean, I've done the same thing where, like, you have times where the goal slips and you have to reevaluate, and you do that throughout the year. It's not that you're a complete failure because you're like, wow, I didn't go to the gym, one time this week. So you know what, 2025 screwed. It's over.
Yeah.
It's like, no, just go, okay, this week was an anomaly. Oh my God. Anomaly. There we go. Oh my gosh.
My goal is to be able to speak English.
Yeah, my goal is just to be able to speak right. But yeah, you just go, okay, well then next week I'm not going to double down and go 2 times a week to make up for the week that I missed. It's just like, no, I'm just going to get back in the groove and start going again. And, maybe if I can hold on to it better this time, then maybe that 1 week that I missed, that's the one time it broke down. But other than that, because it's not like we don't go to Five Guys and eat burgers, we do that every once in a while.
Love Five Guys.
Yeah. But the majority of compared to what we've done in the past, we do it a lot less now. And that's all we're trying to do, is just get a little better every time.
Right. Good stuff, man. So we've got a little twist on the rapid fire this week.
Yeah.
So ChatGPT, it seems ChatGPT. See, gosh, I can't even talk today.
Yeah.
Doesn't really understand the concept of New Year's resolution. So it's really just got a series of questions here that you got to just, I'm going to ask. These are some tough questions, Travis. So you got to be ready for this. Don't be offended. I know you're offended easily, so don't be offended. But these are just honest questions that, ChatGPT has scrolled through your history of Strava and all your workouts and all of your personal notes that you've put in. It's got these questions for you. Ready?
Ready.
All right. All right. So, here, where'd it go? Oh no, I lost it.
Oh no.
Here we go. Are you willing to finally admit that your gravel epics are just glorified group road rides with dirt?
Nice.
And really, it just wants to know, like, how much longer can you pretend to, quote, love the grind when you're just crying on every climb?
No, because the gravel rides are like that for sure, but gravel races are races, and I guess you could say they're group rides where we're all just shared suffering, but that's what it's about. Like, you're testing yourself against people who show up. So I never think it's a I guess if you want, it's a glorified group ride, but whatever.
All right. So we're gonna have to put a bet down on this. The over under. How many times? So for this upcoming calendar year, how many times is Travis gonna pretend to bonk just to quit on a long ride?
I think I've ever pretended to bonk. I've actually bonked.
I was thinking that too.
But
have you ever?
I have good rides and bad rides, but
I'm trying to think, how many times since we've been riding together have you actually bonked on a ride? Not quit, but just bonked on a ride.
I don't think I've bonked in a long time, because that feeling is horrible. Anybody who's ever bonked on a ride knows that feeling, and it is the worst. You never want to do that again. So I really have tried to mitigate that as much as I can. If it comes down to it, I'm drinking Mountain Berry Goose until I get to the end.
That's one of the challenges that ChatGPT has for you this year is to eat nothing but gels for an entire month.
No,
See how many different
as long as it's as long as it's as long as it's not Mountain Berry, you gotta. It's you. I could probably do it. I just wouldn't be happy about it. That's a lot of sugar.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't do it. There's no way.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but no, I was thinking about that. I don't think I've ever. I don't think I've. There's only one event or one long ride that I can remember you or I bailing on, and that was Opal Wapu the year that the heat dialed up, and we had a big race the next like within the next 2 weeks. And so we decided it was just smarter to bail out because of the heat. It was, I mean, it was super, super hot. I remember that year.
Yeah, we were ducking into every bit of shade that we possibly could, and
Yeah.
that was a horrible ride. And kudos to the people that finished on that, but I could not. So, I mean, but there's no shame in that because it's like, well, I could potentially injure myself, having a heat stroke, or something worse, and then then I'm out for a whole season. Like my race calendar is, I don't have to finish every single race. Like that's not a big deal.
Right.
So like quitting that race was not a I've quit more races due to the heat than I have due to fueling.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Heat. Yeah. And heat, it gets me too, man. I mean, every bad race I've had in the last 2 years has been on hot days.
Yeah.
It's never been, which, it's like, well, maybe you should do something about that. Like, yeah, I wish I could.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just wear an ice vest the whole time.
That's right.
Like I don't know how that's going to work, but whatever. Like, with heat's one of those things, especially here, it goes from cold to hot within the span of like a couple of days.
Yeah.
So you just don't get it like you do, other places where you get like, maybe it's, low 30s and then next week it's going to be, 40s and then a month of 50s and then 60s, 70s, 80s. And then you just kind of get that gradual kind of build into summer. Whereas here it's like, we've had it where it snowed 2 days before a race, and then it was almost 80 degrees. So
that's the Midwest for you. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just like, you're going from super cold to insanely hot. And you're like, okay, I guess I could ride outside more, or maybe I have to ride in a sauna more. Like that's kind of the thing. And it's always those early season races because, you're coming from here, which is, you're cold, and then it's 90 degrees and then it's basically the people who have been outside in the heat when it has been hot are the ones who are going to succeed at that race. Whereas, us that have lives, we just get stuck. And then we end up just cooking ourselves from the inside.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I think, I think if there was anything, I mean, if anybody's got any suggestions on how to deal with the heat out there, man, I'd love to know it. I will say, I talked about this before. The one thing to be sure to do is not to oversaturate the nutrition. If there's one thing that I learned this year, that was it. So that's ChatGPT's a little light this week, man. So what else we got for rounding out this year, man? So we got we are now at the end of 2024. 2025 is on us. So any last thoughts on 24? How would you say this year rates over relative to, say, the last 2 or 3, 4 years before it?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. We didn't do an Ironman this year, so I guess, our personality can't be defined by that.
That's right.
Yeah. Like how long from doing an Ironman can you say that you haven't done one in a long enough time, or is it like
it's a lifetime badge of honor, right? So it's funny. I wore my Ironman hat to Chick-fil-A of all places a couple weeks ago, and the kid, there was literally a kid, like he's probably, I don't know, late teens, high school kid, and he saw it and he goes, did you do an Ironman? I was, of course, I'm like, yeah, and
You're like,
and
damn right I did.
and he actually, I mean, give the kid credit. He actually knew it was 140 miles. A lot of them, like, they just have no idea. They've seen
They
the
just glaze
logo.
over, like
Yeah,
my kids when they start talking about it. Does.
I mean, exactly. But this kid was pumped. He was ready to just like talk my ear off. Of course, there was a line of people behind me. They didn't want to hear anything about this.
Yeah,
but,
they're like, whatever, just put the sandwich in the bag.
Exactly. Like, oh, it's another one of these guys talking about Iron Man. Oh,
yeah, Jesus.
It's over with. But yeah, and he's like, so when did you do it? And I told him, I was like, yeah, it wasn't this year, it was last year. And he's like, oh man, that is so awesome. And then the little bash, he goes, what was your time? You suck.
We don't really do times on Iron Man. It's all about the completion.
So I told him what my time was, and he was just in total amazement. I mean, you thought this kid had just seen like, the celebrity of all celebrities, but I was like, no, I told him, I was like, you should sign up and go do one, even at a young age, go do one,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you get to keep claiming it forever, but it's tough. I mean, this year compared to last year, and I don't want to compare everything to the Ironman year, but it was an odd year. Like, I mean, I say odd because like I distinctly remember coming into the season, into the race year, about this time last year, the running had not gone as well as it should have. Off season was a little bit too much of an off season. The motivation wasn't quite the same because coming off of the Ironman event, and then also all the other things we did, a couple gravel races after Ironman. It's like I'm just flat out fatigued, and then going into the marathon in February of this year, I felt like this year started off super slow for me. 24 did. I felt like it was the early gravel races. I don't think I felt as prepared for. Although I did fine, like in the events themselves, my performance was there, but not like I don't feel like I was as prepared as I could have been. And
yeah, but I mean, you look at it, we PR'd the marathon.
Oh yeah.
We did really well at open range.
Mm-hmm.
We did very well at Unbound.
Yeah.
You PR'd at Big Sugar.
Mm-hmm.
We had some really good, sprint triathlon.
Yeah.
We like, it's not to say that this year
it wasn't a failure.
No, it wasn't a failure, but as far as I don't know, like I said, like, it's one of those things that it just felt like it didn't feel like it was a banner year. It just felt like it was a year that you just kind of went through and got stuff done.
Checked a lot of boxes. Did a lot of things.
Cleaned up a lot of stuff, I would say.
Cleaned up a lot of stuff, yeah. The Colorado trip was incredible, to say the least. I mean, just the riding out there is, it's the stuff you just don't forget. But yeah, I just don't think that I don't feel like I entered the year, and I don't. Again, it's hard to say that when the results were there, but I don't feel like I was as prepared as I could have been, which means I feel like I left a lot on the table.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm kind of looking at this year going, okay, we're going to be 3.5 months out. Like I said, 3.5 months out from the, it's time to start really focusing on the cycling side, even though we're still, 6 weeks out from the half marathon, which I expect to PR. It's not going to be hard to PR it because I've only run a couple of half marathons and actually attempted to run. So it's like, I don't think it'll be hard to PR as long as it's a decent day. So yeah, I'm really optimistic about 25 coming up ahead. I don't know. We'll see how the year goes out, but I'm feeling like it's a chance to like put some pieces, like you said, cleaned up a lot of things. Now it's like this could be a year of really putting things together.
Yeah, this could definitely be if we clean up a lot of stuff, there'll be a lot more, improvements on the board for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far like I think 23 would be in the Ironman year. I mean, it's hard to top that. I mean, we did a lot in 23. Go back and look at the list of events compared to the list of events in 24.
Yeah.
23 is, it's like, how in the world to survive that year? That was a lot of volume. It's a lot of volume.
A lot of stuff that we did.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I was just curious how, it's like, this is again kind of where some of the optimism of a fresh year coming up, because I feel like, barring injury or sickness or anything like that, I mean, you could really see 25 could be a super, super awesome year from a results perspective. And then just like the feeling of, hey, really starting to put together solid full race efforts. And hopefully that shows up in the standings. But, and then I think that sets up for some of the stuff we talked about with 26 that I'm really excited about. So,
yeah. The next couple of years for sure, I think are going to be really good. So,
cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we'll see you all in next year.
Next year. Can't wait.
So, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Please, if you like what we are doing here, leave a like, rate us, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. It really helps us grow and finds us more SufferSooner squad mates. And remember, when the finish line feels impossibly far away, we don't give up, we push harder, we dig deeper, and we find solace in the knowledge that our suffering is temporary and our resilience is forever.